Hi, guys. Welcome to the Lifelong Wellness Mastermind Group. Tonight we have Neil Tucker speaking on the 5 S's. Is that correct, Neil? The 5 S's
Five-step protocol. Yeah.
5-step protocol, 5-step protocol. Take it away, Neil.
Thank you so much, man. Super cool. So let me put some pieces together here first. So Mary and MK and Jameson, I know from my online Zoom home group, and Derek I just met tonight. So Mary and the Night Owls group, my friend Salvation Mike, who's on the line now, if you ever hear me, he's like my longest, dearest friend in AA, out to support this recovery process here. But it's way more than that. And Derek, I'm so glad you jumped on here. And so the concept kind of this is actually Ed was downplaying and he was distracted, that the idea behind this is to promote leading edge sort of recovery, but also recovery in the broadest sense of, trauma, expanding your consciousness, reaching a higher level of potential. And so this has been a conversation for a while with Ed and I. And so to give it some structure for tonight, I'm going to do a screen share. And let me see if, all right. Can you all see that? Quick little, Neil Tucker, and what, the whole idea of the mastermind is a learning and kind of micro learning, if you will, also helping new practitioners and providers to get out in the field, also furthering and expanding, what is your health like, not just over a lifespan, but what is your health span? What is the quality of health you have? Now, much of tonight I'll frame through a general EMS healthcare window, but it's the whole goal with this program and where I'm going with this is taking it to the streets, taking it to a different level. Some of this program, when you look at it, is very standardized. So I'm going to be launching a coaching system. I focus on EMS first responders. There's a whole curriculum that goes on this, ultimately training coaches and EMS providers in the recovery space on wellness recovery, recovery wellness, and the use of a protocol to help along the way. And so you heard Ed mention that, and we're going to come back and circle up to that. But this is just showing that, for my business, where I'm trying to take this, what I'm doing as a practitioner in the recovery space is based a lot on this. There's no way that you're going to get the whole essence, but if you understand a little bit of it, those that have some recovery time are going to totally pick it up. I'll go for about 45 minutes. The format of the meeting is I do a share, kind of present this information, and then we do a half-hour open dialogue and a Q&A at a deep dive. But we're not going to master this. This is like an awareness level. I'm putting myself out there as a provider. I've got a good book of business where I've been presenting and how I'm continuing to present. Part of the mastermind group thinking is if you got a chance to network, if you got a chance to do any business synergy collaboration, this is an acceptable platform to do that from. And you know what? I went full bore. There we go. That's a little better quality of presentation. You need to see my notes. So what I want to put down tonight, and we'll have a little space to practice, integrate a couple of concepts, is that doing this 5-step protocol and understanding that will help clearly define what your wellness program looks like. And again, I talked about that from the lifespan through your health span. So it's not just, hey, you have a long life. You can have a long life and be miserable in the process. You can have a long life and struggle with all kinds of things. Part of this is to be able to adapt and change so your health span is high quality for the field provider, but for relationships in general, we have a known history of improving rapid, progressive, and sustained levels of engagement and deeper personal practice. If you think as an EMT, we have to establish immediate rapport. If you think about working with a fragile population, people new in recovery, or people grieving and bereaving, we want to be mindful of how we go into that. We want to create a rapport so they can feel safe and open. The goal ultimately of these practices is taking some of these yoga, Qigong, Tai Chi, and using them to improve our intuition and our precognitive state, so that sixth sense, that extrasensory perception, you can see where that would be uber important as a provider. Is my scene safe? How sick is this patient? Do I have to worry about any obstacles or dangers on scene? You can see how that would be hypervigilant in somebody who's a trauma survivor. They're always trying to read the room, whether it's appropriate or not. There we have a chance to look at how am I managing that in my own body. Index of suspicion is what we train in EMS and healthcare. That means high level of intuition, what this person's telling you, and is there more to the story, and how do we get to a little deeper place. This whole program is interactive. So when you become a practitioner, you're constantly working through a thought experiment and doing these skill builders that enhance through the 5-step protocol so that you're getting better relational alignments and you're better in your collaboration in the EMS, but also in the recovery space. We want to be hard on the problem, but soft on the person. We use kindness and empathy. That's therapeutic communication. That's good across the board. But if I'm all ratcheted up, if my stress level is at a 10 all the time and I'm highly triggered, I have poor calibration skills. So part of the 5-step protocol is to give a specific anchoring to a methodology, but with specific situations. So what I want to do, just getting a little point across here. I'm pulling up my timer. Now, I want everybody in their lap, you're going to make 2 fists. And you're going to squeeze that fist as hard as you can and maintain that squeeze. Whatever you do, don't stop that squeeze. And we're going to do that for 2 minutes. But I want you to keep squeezing, and I'm going to ask you a question to think about while you're squeezing, right? Keep squeezing. Keep that hand engaged. And how does that feel, that tight? And now imagine somebody holding on to a problem, somebody holding on to that. Now imagine, if you will, that you're getting hammered with questions. So keep that going. Keep that squeezing. Keep that. Did I freak you out? Keep that squeezing. Keep that squeezing, right? A trauma comes in, something alerts you. Keep that squeezing all the time. Now you're trying to hold space. You're trying to pay attention to me. You're trying to pay attention to me as you're doing this, and you're trying to hold that into and we're only a minute into it. Now I want you to keep that squeeze. Keep that squeeze and listen to my voice and just breathe naturally. Try to hold that space, and you're breathing. You're keeping that space. Now, begin to let that go. Take a deep breath, shake your hands loose, right? Little weird, and again, in a longer workshop format, we have time to build that up. But did it startle you when I did the scream? Did it alert you? Now imagine that tension is somebody's trauma. It's their victimization, it's their abuse, it's their drug alcohol, it's their affair they're hiding, it's the hiding and lying. All that takes shape and form in the body. And so over time, that chronic stress will turn to illness, and that illness will turn to disease. And if we don't have some methodology, some way to mitigate and build in that. So if that is dialed in, we see reduced incident of sick out and work-related drama, especially in the healthcare, especially in the recovery space. But now think about that in a family that's in crisis, or a business that's in crisis, right? It's stressed, which is going to lead to illness, which is going to eventually lead to disease. Hang on once, sorry. Next one. So part of what with the mastermind is in the networking side that I don't want to go into the story. I'm a person with lived experience, long-term sobriety, trauma survivor, all that. I feel like I'm the poster child for this. But what I share tonight is from direct experience. It's from thousands of hours of working in and around patients, working in and around my own recovery process. You develop a certain competency, and the cultural competency around that is important when you're trying to build trust and connection, when you're trying to build that rapport part of the equation. When we are in these trainings, and when a culture starts to adapt this, and I'm talking about a family, talking about a work in EMS, there's a certain culture that it makes sense that you can relate. Oh, my dogs are barking. It makes sense that you can relate with these people. Hang on, let me do a. Can you hear them barking in the background? Is that distracting? Okay, cool. All right, sorry about that. The bottom line, if we had a little more time, I would like to unpackage how my lived experience and cultural competency weighs into this. But we can talk about that on the sidebar. All this is framed around overdose prevention and recovery wellness. My whole shtick around this is innovative stress management and the 5-step protocol. These are all series of systematic trainings for people who are either in healthcare, looking to get into life coaching, looking to deepen their practice in the field. I want to come back to here. All right, so one of the strengths of the 5-step protocol is its understanding in energy management. So what this is about is taking and demystifying Qigong and Tai Chi and those subtle body-mind arts, and helping to understand how I manage my own apparatus by developing certain sensitivities and better skills to manage the kind of stress that may come at us. And we all talk about energy, like, well, I'm low energy, they're too high energy, I don't have enough energy. In these practices, you're looking to cultivate your energy, you're looking to restore your energy, or you're looking to circulate your energy. And so rather than talk about it in terms of the mystical chi and prana and all that's there, I like to ground it as a health educator and say, hey, these are the attributes that once you start to bring your attention on, you start to deepen this idea of better body mind. energy originates in the sun and accompanies solar rays. That's not too bizarre thing. There's nobody doesn't like to stand outside when it's rainy. We like it when the sun comes. You know, I don't know how photosynthesis works, but God damn it, plants take light and they convert it and they make it grow. It's got to have some benefit on us too. It's contained in all living matter. You know, there's no doubt about it. And inanimate is dead. And, you know, when there's life force there, you see that life force moves continuously through defined channels in humans and animals. So we can think of our nostril, our mouth, our veins, our arteries. There's channels. And now even subtler. So that's why practices like acupuncture and acupressure and massage are good, because they're releasing that energy. Now, obstructed flow causes physical, mental, and emotional changes. So think about this. We did that exercise where you're tightening your fist and you have that fist locked in. Now you go to your doctor and you say, I have this pain, it's really bad, and it's in this part of my body. And they say, all right, let's get some blood work and let's get an x-ray. Comes back negative. And you're like, oh my God, I really have this pain. It's in this part of my body. And they take a CAT scan and an MRI, and they come back negative. There's nothing on that. But yet you're still presenting with some symptom. You're still presenting with a type of tension, a type of something in your body. You exhaust all the tests. What are we left with? You know, I mean, really, what are we left with? It's some kind of a blockage in the field. We call it an energy cyst. And so that's where systems like Tai Chi, Qigong help that energy. So we know obstructed flow causes physical, mental, and emotional change. Mental, if somebody's frustrated and they can't share, it's a blocked energy, right? Somebody who's trying to hold back tears, it's a blocked energy. So we know it's also connected to and dependent on breathing. We've got to breathe all the time. And you'll see we're going to integrate a little breathing practice. Directs the process of growth. So if you know it's contained in all living matter, it's going to be instrumental over that life and health span. Exhibits a polarity. Sometimes our energy is high amplitude, sometimes it's low amplitude, sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, sometimes it feels spider webby, sometimes it feels like mercury. And by doing the 5-step protocol, you're going to get introduced to how do I really have a chance to experience that? And then at the end of the day, it can be communicated, right? We're always communicating, but if our apparatus, our own bio battery is nice and clear and we're centered in what we're doing, man, we can communicate clearly. We can get that high index of suspicion, our gut feeling, our precognitive state. We don't have to be so triggery. We've created a buffer. So this idea of energy is really an important concept. We're only going to be able to get it from 3 general sources, from our spiritual, from the heavens, whatever that is. They call those celestial STEM arts. From the earth, getting outside, playing around in the woods, doing whatever you need to regenerate. There's certain power spots on the planet that people are naturally gravitate towards, use that. And then where do we get the biggest sources from? Human. We've all been in a space where, you know, you're in a bad relationship, it just sucks the life force right out of you. Or if you're in a positive relationship, you're affirmed and there's an insertion, a resurgence of that energy. Exhibits polarity. Here, what we advocate for in these trainings in the EMS space and healthcare space is understanding things are always going to be in an ebb and flow of change. But what we're looking for is how well am I integrating it? So, for example, female, male, what's the integration of it? It's an interdependence. It's the ability to be and absorb any attribute that makes sense at that time. Where are the integrations of the lunar and solar at the dusk to dawn space? And so all this is starting to notice what, you know, ancient Taoist to Buddhist to Native American, indigenous, we're looking at this and representing it in their own body and mind. And you can do your own study on this, but there's got to be some systematic change in how you go at it. And that's where the 5-step protocol comes in. So protocols help define roles and responsibilities. Clear role, clear responsibilities make sense totally from an EMS space. You can see how, during a cardiac arrest, it makes sense. But also we see how it unpackages in family and family dynamics, how interactive and how available people are. The 5-step protocol is going to give you a method that you can anchor to, that you don't know what to think, you don't know what to say, you can't find the right book to read. It's going to come down to you being able to do one of these things. And again, I'm throwing kind of a lot at you to absorb, but we're going to take a practice here. So the 5-step protocol is breathe, center, balance, root, posture. Those are the most fundamental core attributes of Qigong and Tai Chi clinically. They also cut across all somatic psychologies, all somatic therapies. The breathing part of it, all right? When should we breathe? All the time, right? The point that I make here is, hang on, I just want to go look at something. Oops. Don't rush me, Mary. Come back to this slide. Breathe, center, balance, root, posture. So that is a type of heuristics, and a drive for this program in EMS and healthcare, because we're using protocols. A heuristic is a general rule or guideline that helps you come to a decision quickly. That's a way to help kind of proof reality. It's a quick, does this thing add up that I'm struggling with? We hear them in recovery. Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said now? Easy does it, think. Those are all little micro heuristics that we can anchor to. I want you to think of the 5-step protocol as that. And so really, again, if you're thinking about your own body, mind, and how are you inhabiting that? I never quite understood this. It's almost been like a life mission that I got to try so hard not to betray my body, mind, because someday it's going to betray me. That someday that whole body, mind, I'm going to age, I'm going to degrade, right? And so drugs and alcohol didn't help that whole process at all. And so anyway, just thinking about heuristics and thinking about how it's connecting to the 5-step protocol. This whole system comes from the body up, where we've done a lot of work with reading, we've done a lot of work with thinking things through. You hear a lot around cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical, we've got that talk therapy. This is coming from the body up. So if you can frame that in that light, it makes a little more sense. Again, we described how to release those energy cysts. What I want to do is here. So for this, I want you to bring your hands into a praying position in front of your, right? And just open them a little bit and close them a little bit. Open them a little bit and close them a little bit. There you go. One more time. Open and close. Now, take an inhale and exhale. Now this time on the inhale, you're going to open the hands. Inhale and exhale, close. Good. Inhale, open, exhale, close. One more time. Inhale, exhale, close. All right, very good, very good. The more we can coordinate our breathing with our movement. Now, check this out. Keep your hands down comfortably at your side. And on inhale, you're going to turn your eyes to the hard right. So inhale, eyes turn to the right, and exhale. Inhale, eyes turn to the right, exhale. One more time. Inhale, eyes turn to the right, exhale. Try the same thing, other side. Inhale, eyes to the left, exhale. Inhale, eyes, exhale. All right, very good. You get the idea of coordinating at the smallest and most refined level. You're breathing down to the point that you may even be synchronizing your breathing with your client, your family member, the person that you're in front of, that it may come down to that very moment. Center. In this case, we focus on three primary areas of center: middle of your forehead, middle of your chest, and your lower center, like right around your navel, a little below your navel. Why? That is your anatomical center of gravity. That center of gravity also has a quality of acting like a bio battery. So if you can imagine on your inhale and your exhale, you're breathing from that point. You're putting more emphasis on how that air is moving from that particular point. But if you think about it, body is the lower center. It's deep, it's in your core. Middle center is in and around your heart. So, people who have a hunched over posture or they're guarding a lot, that they're going to end up closing their heart. And this upper center, more for higher thinking, more rational mind, right? And we want to raise that energy. The lower the energy gets, it calms. The deeper we go, the more calm we get. But we also have to be careful not to move through too much fear around that area. So what we're trying to do is connect our body mind to any one of those centers. Balance is not just, hey, look, I stand on one leg. We're using the idea of balance as an organic reset, a way to recalibrate that body mind through breathing to your center, finding your balance. Root is to connect to whatever moment you're in. It's definitely connecting to the earth. We can get some cool cosmic visualizations. Imagine you're standing on the earth and your feet are magnetically connected to the center of the earth. Wow, great image. But it's also, how am I connecting to this very moment? We know that people split during tough events, trauma events. Bringing that back in, getting connected, being rooted is instrumental. It also has benefit for growth. I've got a connection to the thing I'm growing through. I've got a connection to the thing that I'm working on now. And at the end of the day, our posture reflects much of who we are. Just so happens a lot of Tai Chi and Qigong, a lot of this practice ultimately ends up in you're taking postures that help represent your growth. But even in the idea of setting rapid rapport, you're trying to mimic that other person's posture. You're trying to stay connected with them. with that breathing, with that that deep rapport. So let me just do a time check here. Good, perfect. All right, one of the sets here, when you're using the 5-step protocol and you're working through that, it's a lot like in EMS. You check for scene safety, how responsive is the patient, do they have a pulse, are they breathing, and you're working through a protocol. It's a lot like when you get an IKEA furniture, you open it. Well, most people open up the map and follow directions, right? And so that's why you always get those damn couple of pieces at the end that leave it out there. But you're following some type of direction. One of the things we talked about tonight was developing that precognitive state, that deeper intuition. Those are the real attributes of empathy. Those are the real attributes of connection. We orient towards broader and better direction, meaning instead of just front back, that's easy. Think north, think south, think east, think west, think heaven and earth. How are you rooting to that? What is your posture around that? When we just did that breathing with the hands, so bring your hands back up like this again to making a praying position. And you're going to inhale, hold the arms out, keep them out, and exhale. Now bring them back into center without breathing at all. So now inhale, open arms up, keep them open, exhale. Now without breathing, bring them back into center. One more, inhale, open. Exhale. Now bring them back to center. Now lower those hands, and when you lower those hands, lower the energy to that lower center. Settle into that. Now check in with your posture. Where's your posture? How connected are you to this moment? What does that look like? So now you've got a method. If agitated, we're out of balance. So where are we with the balance set? If I am disconnected and not connected to anybody, or I don't feel connected to things, how's my root? What am I doing to build that root? In a classroom setting, if we had the space, we'd be doing a whole bunch of these exercises and developing these heuristics to work through. We'd be developing and cultivating the practice. At the end of the day, what I'm advocating for here is, I'm just going to pop off of the screen share. What I'm advocating for is that the only body mind I got is mine. And having a methodology that no matter what, I can go through that. And then adding layers of practice to that. So sort of field practice. EMS, you're thinking first responder space. Tones drop, stress goes up, breathing starts. Tones drop, stress goes up, breathing starts, and we start connecting to the scene. What information? I'm gathering a picture in my head. What is this scene like? You get some data. We all do that. How many times have you seen a phone call come in and you look at the number and you're like, right? I don't want to take that call. Or, you're excited about it, right? Oh yeah, it's salvation. Oh yeah, I got to grab this call. What's going on, dude? Right? And we're checking in with that. So our ability to calibrate gets better. So as an EMS provider, I go on scene, there's going to be naturally stress. But then this is applicable. You have to go have a tough meeting with a peer in a work setting. Stress goes up, breathing starts. What's the rapport? If there's no rapport connected to this, it's very little chance of the encounter progressing, right? So that idea of rapid rapport is instrumental. I'm going to go back to screen share. When Ed was we were shaping the mastermind thing and talking about it, and Ed does, we're going to try to take like a 4-hour presentation and put it into 45 minutes, so it feels like, what are the key points and what are the key points to the key points to get in there. I want to get to so part of this system is really and ultimately you're developing a deep personal practice to be a practitioner, not just a provider, not just a patient, but a practitioner of this method, so that you have some way to totally ground the energy, some way to stay quickly calibrated, some way to trust your intuition, some way to build your ability to seek and get better rapport with somebody. Again, if you think of this as a provider, EMS, or healthcare, all that makes sense, but very easy to translate over into a corporate setting, very easy to translate over into an interpersonal relationship. We talked about the 5-step protocol. It's layered. There's layers to this, but it's built on the idea that you are doing a massive study in your own energy field. How is your energy today? How are you cultivating that energy? If you're practicing the therapeutic exercises, and really they amount to spiritual therapeutics, you can't help but cultivate, restore, and then to begin to circulate your energy. That's not original Neil Tucker. That's coming out of the classics. And this is a life study. This is a practice of it. It doesn't have to be super mystical. You don't have to be discipled and yoked to a bunch of gurus. It's just getting and understanding this process. And you can create your own set of heuristics. There's some standard ones that come in this curriculum, but a big part of that, I talked about the body up, right? So think about this. How do you know when you're hungry? Stomach gurgles, mouth waters, start thinking about food. How do you know you're in pain? Your body signals. How do you know it's a muscle cramp versus a bone pain versus an acute smash in your hand with a hammer pain? It signals from the body up. But you can see we just came through this tough period, the pandemic, on where everybody was triggered, everybody was no buffer, no precognition, no sensitivity to that space, that field. And after lots of study, after teaching thousands of providers and having this in my practice, it's the lack of a good solid heuristic, and understanding that if you're thinking about this body mind psychology, they call it somatic psychology, there's only 4 modes: thinking, sensing, feeling, and moving. And it's like, if you can align yourself with where that person is at and where you're at in it, again, you're getting a better rapport. But even in your own life, even just review your own day. How much time were you thinking? And how much time were you just sensing? And what does it mean to sense? And how do you know your sensing apparatus is on? Insects and animals develop whiskers and antenna and shit to to be able to feel that. Here we know that this works. We know that you can set that field up. The coaching triangle, that if you were to pursue this in the coaching role, there's just 3 roles: patient, provider, and practitioner. here we're advocating for becoming a practitioner, that you're adopting a skill set that you're going to practice to reinforce and build your body, mind, somatics. And all this is based on precision, patient-centered medicine, and therapeutics. All this can be highly documented. The brain kind of neuroscience around that is super sound. Let me get to what I do. I'm going to stop my screen sharing for one sec, a couple more minutes, and I'm going to open it up to the floor. Doot 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 doot. Sorry, I'm getting there. Do not rush me. Back to screen share. This is where Ed promised me, he's like, yeah, I'll have somebody with the backup on the all right. All right. So sample curriculum, just kind of what we want to explore is, how do you travel around your body mind? How well can you navigate this apparatus? So I'm going to end on this, and I'll put this, I'll email this out to everybody. I believe I have everybody's email. But just take a little tour with me around your body here. I'll call out these different areas and just focus on air coming in, air coming out. Don't worry about any special breathing style. So take a moment, take a deep inhale, exhale, clear your mind. And I want you to think about your lower center. That's a place right below your navel, the center of your pelvic bowl. And just take 1 or 2 breaths into that area and just really bring your attention onto that. And now bring your attention to your kidneys, which just lower back, just up around your top of your pelvis, not too high up there. And just attention's on your kidneys. Interestingly, the kidneys carry the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands live on top of the kidneys. The adrenal glands are that stress gland. And then bring your attention to your waist, just around your lower rib cage. And just notice as you breathe, can you feel your ribs expanding? And then you come around to the front of that upper abdomen. That upper abdomen, sort of right around the solar plexus area. And just see if you can breathe right into that area. And just raise your awareness to around your chest, just under your clavicles, right around your sternum area. And then to your underarms, feel that space, your underarm area. See if you can breathe right into that area. And then just right around to your back, right around the shoulder blades, in between that shoulder blade area. And then up into the throat. Let's raise your head a little bit, bring your attention onto that. And just take one last final breath. Just relax a little bit. Just wiggle your fingers and toes. And I know it's a lot, the last little summary, and then we can riff a little bit here, is it's my personal hypothesis that's grounded by lots of not just empirical evidence, but field tested, heavily studied on energy medicine and somatic psychology, and how impactful it is. And we all come here with our recovery deal. We all come here with, our life story, and we carry this body with us. And how well am I in tune with this body? Sometimes it feels so awkward to be in, like, what is this skin bag? But there's actually people who've thought about it, and said, hey, shit, doesn't have to feel like you're just this pile of molecules, that, like the wet robot. We can do something with it. We can calibrate and potentiate our energy. And given more time, it becomes a study, it's a practice. This is where I'm taking my career for my next level. And normally during the mastermind, we kind of, I'm going to stop screen sharing here. Let me just get out of here. There we go. Then we just want to riff a little bit. Ed would comment, on the presenter stuff, and kick it off. I don't want to kick off on my presentation, but Mike, let me just pick on you a little bit. You've been kind of watching this journey, and let's talk a little bit about our ADD and ADHD, and can you see how some of this 5-step protocol and those methods could be good for, like, impulse control? And I know you've worked on that.
Yeah, well, so personally, I need to have, be prepared, like have instructions, have a go-to, right? So similar to what you're talking about in terms of a protocol, I have to have my own protocol, and it's very similar. It's right out of the gate, like the thing that I've worked on for a decade. And the small benefit that is huge. I mean, a small thing that has a huge benefit is breathing, right? And you've taught me that out of the gate. The simple thing that I always have access to is my breath. And really, God exists in that breath. And I think that pause given to me by my conscious awareness and taking a breath gives me all the benefits that I need to go forward in an effective manner, right?
Yeah, it's powerful.
So if I can build around that breath and that pause, I can have other tools that I can access, right?
Yes.
So, I don't know who else is on this call, like what their professions are, but I know with the field of work that you do, how precious that is and how imperative it is. So if you can train the trainers and teach people to be better at their, response, the first responders, or people that are interacting with classes or groups or individuals, we can all benefit from it, right? So, yeah, I mean, I know you were trying to put 10 pounds into a 1 pound bag tonight. So
how'd I do?
I mean, so yeah, I mean, the practical applications, just really the exercises bring us in tune with it too. So I'm glad you made it interactive.
Thanks, man. Yeah, definitely.
And I appreciate you, kind of calling on me. And I was, really seeing, I know there's an expansion of what you're offering. I mean, in terms of what you're talking about too, and I know there's a lot of value there. So
Thanks, man.
thanks
Hey,
for asking.
hey, Mary, can I ask you a question?
Sure,
You,
absolutely.
you had shared a little
Open
bit
book.
about some back issues. Along your
Absolutely.
recovery with that, how much, like, were you introduced to yoga and like biofeedback, any of those kind of things?
I have not been. No, nope.
Really?
It's just been the standard.
Yep.
And I haven't really seeked it out either. So I've been in PT now for over a year, and I feel confident now that I would be able to try yoga and some of the
Mhm.
other
Mhm.
aspects. So
Mhm.
very, very interesting talk. I mean, I know it's just the tip of the iceberg, but
Yeah.
I appreciate being
Thank
here
you.
and listening. Yeah, it was great.
So let me riff off that, if I may.
Sure, absolutely.
That you're like a great candidate for the whole idea of this course is you don't have to be like this real esoteric hippie guru-y kind of stuff. If you were to go to a yoga class after working this, you'd right away be like, oh, they're talking about centering. Got it.
Yeah,
They're
yep.
talking about feeling rooted and connected. Got it. But what's happened over just millennia of these arts is they became very discipled and esoteric and culty, and
Yeah,
you had to learn
yeah,
all the. It's like in AA, we learn the language of the heart.
right.
But that's a good example of, when you start to go out, you're going to understand, yeah, this is going to come from the body up. All really good trauma work comes from the body up, moving through that space. But thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Derek,
yeah.
man, can I ask you a question? Yeah.
Me? Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Derek, yeah. What's your experience, or have you played around with like the yoga, Tai Chi, any of this like TM, anything along this lines?
It's kind of funny that you bring it up. So, listening to you, I've probably had a meditation practice for a number of years. Yoga, I literally just started doing yoga about a month ago.
Cool.
And but the funny thing about that is also it's a lot of the breathing with the movements of the body. But when you first start doing yoga, that's a little hard to choreograph, So I'm still in that stage, I think. I
Yeah.
try to go about twice a week. I go out with my wife on Thursday nights and Saturday mornings, and just at the YMCA, it's a yoga flow.
Cool.
But yeah, because I've gotten into running in the past few years, so I wanted to figure out ways to not running long distance like Ed by any means. I'm like a 5K kind of guy. But it's, I wanted to see if that would help me with that, with soreness after. And I feel like it has helped me run a little faster, a little looser. But I also think a lot of this is with the mind body. That's why I like the meditation as well. It's like a mindfulness practice where you can, especially when we talk about meditation, where they tell you to, feel the pressure on your seat, where things are touching. And I am in recovery myself, in full disclosure, about 11 years. And back in September, I joined a Dharma recovery group. So I've been doing, because I like kind of the Buddhist principles type of thing. So yeah, so this was really good for me to hear
Yeah, far
this.
out. So there's a good example where somebody having had some exposure around these somatic arts, these kind of body mind arts, you can see right away where that whole protocol, breathe, center, bound, it's right there. And it does take a little time to put it all together, and again, if we were in like a structured class format, we're doing specific exercises and we take a good chunk of time to explore that, so you get the principle behind it. Dr. MK, paging Dr. MK, are you there, or you gotta? She might have dipped on me. God damn you. I was gonna ask, she's a psychologist, ask her for her
I'm
quick-
here. I'm about to park. If I can go next after, if someone else can go.
Yeah. Jameson, are
I
you
wanna-
there, dude?
What
James.
up?
Hey, dude, what's happening, man? Did I get 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag, man?
As usual.
All right, very cool, man. What did we talk about this at one time? I think I remember you said you did some yoga. Is that true? Or am I making that
No,
up?
I just work out. I work out all the time.
I work out, dinkity dink.
Yeah. Yeah. I lift heavy things and put
Yeah,
them
that-
down.
Well, have you connected that if you are using your breath, it becomes like a piston? You can use
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to breathe in because that muscle or the oxygen supplies your muscles. So you need that. And I'll tell you, Neil, the one thing I kind of took away from it was the breathing aspect that you started to touch on. And there's a reason therapy, that's one of the first things they start trying to teach you is, hey, take a pause, take a couple deep breaths, recenter yourself, So I was like, yeah, it's that full circle with some things that we go with through recovery and outside help therapy and stuff like that. So it's awesome, brother.
Yeah, man. And did you think the little section I did on the attributes of energy, did that make sense? Because I just been working at it. I want to try to frame that up a little bit. Like, is that like a foreign concept? Does that
For
seem
me,
like
it is. You're way out there for me sometimes, brother. But
yeah.
I followed you. I just,
Yeah.
didn't really grab it all. So
Yeah. It's a slippery slope of a positive conversation because you can quickly go into consciousness, and our recovery program tells us. So like let me back up just a little bit. The whole idea of being a contact coach is an EMS. Number one, you always report on scene contact with patient, time of contact. In our 12-step program, the 11th step is make conscious contact. My whole thing is once you've made conscious contact with anybody, you maintain that throughout the whole duration. If there's anger, frustration, stress, worry, all that, it's not conscious contact. It's whatever, chaos contact. I think there's a new term. It's going to be chaos contact. And that takes a while. That's a discernment thing. And it's like Derek was talking about, with the practice, you'll get more acclimated. You'll have more capacity. In deeper levels of doing this, we focus on capacity building. That the hypothesis around this particular protocol and is that we're lacking capacity if we're feeling frustrated and stressed, uncertain, fearful, nervous, right? EMS danger is real, but fear is perceived. You want to put the fire out, but pretending like the world is ending, that doesn't work. So all that, definitely makes sense. Did you park okay? Oh, go ahead, Jameson. Go ahead, dude.
It's that listening to understand instead of just listening to respond aspect.
Good point. Most definitely. And if you have that sixth sense, if you have met that person at a very sensitive precognitive state, I believe from direct experience and have seen it, that there's a better quality of rapport, better quality of connection, that conscious contact. So that's kind of the contact coach concept was born out of that. So the whole system is you would do a super robust training, and that's what I've been putting out is online courses and getting these Roland, but the content is important. And so it's like your point, Jameson, we've wrestled with. My colleague in the field is a clinical psychologist for the Air Force. He's also been my Qigong student for 40 years. So, you know, you've got kind of this Air Forcey vibe with the esoteric vibe, and how do we keep it grounded? But all right, there you go, MK.
So-
What's going on, Dr. B?
So is that like that connection, is that similar to trauma building in this aspect?
I don't know what do you mean by trauma bonding?
Yeah.
The negative side is the trauma bonding. I think, you know, you don't want to, I understand that to be not a great thing. But what was the point on that? I missed the
That
what-
that connection that you were saying, you
Yes.
know, when you get to that level with somebody, like, you know,
Yes.
on that personal kind of chaotic level, you know, it opens up that empathy, right? Where
It can, yes, Jameson, absolutely, absolutely, it can. And I believe we would all agree that the clearer, the more hygienic you are in that consciousness and in that space, the better quality of relationship is going to be there. You know.
10-4. Go ahead, MK, kill him, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, MK. What up?
Oh,
What
no,
up?
thank you. That was awesome, Neil, and thank you. I'm rushed and I dumped the other two out here at Panera, but still I can feel the pull of distraction. But I thought it was awesome, and I was just liking, someone else mentioned the practicality of it, and having ADHD and being a counselor, like I heard you touching on, you know, the fancy words or not, like it sounded like some of it is that like transference, being able to feel what they feel and when you're talking with someone else. And I could use some of these tools for sure. And anything imagery, visualization, you know, like just the northeast, southwest, I then can, for some reason, it feels helpful for ADHD. If it's like, it's short, I can picture that. And I can kind of bounce around in my mind when I'm just doing that, you know what I mean? And hit these different areas just in imagining that. And I could afford to do a lot more of these kind of tools that you were teaching. And then I was just wondering, should I be concerned when I was trying to do, I couldn't do all of like the practice with the breathing kind of techniques, but breathing in and looking to the left, the right, and then the left. Looking to the left, my eyes were trying to come back right away. Like I couldn't do it at first. And I'm like, you know me, I'm like, okay, what's wrong? But it was a good exercise for sure.
Well, so let me just pick up on that a little bit, that the nerve, we know this, there's whole healing systems based on this idea that your brain and nervous system will recalibrate and change faster with less movement but higher quality of mindfulness and awareness in that movement. So if you think about your body in general, if you're clumsy, that usually implies big awkward movement. Oh, you got it.
No, yes, I'm saying clumsy.
Yeah. If you're clumsy, you know, it's big awkward movement, but I can be emotionally clumsy. I can be clumsy, you know,
Mental clumsy.
socially clumsy, you know, like it's metaphor
Absolutely.
that's real. But that whole idea, man, of having some simple practice, but if you just really feel into it, it starts with the breathing. That's going to take you to center. Your center helps teach you where your perimeter of balance is. If you feel centered, you can only root once you're centered, right? And if you're centered and rooted, you're going to naturally present in a decent, healthy posture. And the big obvious body reads are, you know, the aggressive guy or the shy guy, and we have ways to play around with that. But that imagery is cool, that imagery makes it much better when you do traditional Tai Chi forms. They're like, take 3 steps to the east playing ward off, and they talk about it in that directional, and it expands. When we did this breathing, right? We did this, it's opening up the periphery. So it's expanding awareness and being able to focus it. It's expanding awareness. When you see people, if anybody done shooting, they shoot, pow, pow, and stop and look left and look right. And it's a way to settle and de-escalate the loud noise and the high energy, but that peripheral vision. Every hunting culture, the warriors, the hunters always did a whole peripheral vision thing to see the whole playing field. And so a lot of what we do is based on developing that peripheral vision with the exercises. For that very reason, it's therapeutic effect on the nervous system, and the stuff gets cool as hell. You can eventually, you can eventually deep dive on all this. Do you see more practices coming up with Mary Kate bringing integrative care in like the clinical setting?
I'll find out soon. I went to fill out paperwork for a new position, and it's general community mental health, and I've been out of it for a little tiny bit here, but I'll find out. What I can say is that a little more and more bringing in some of this, but so much work to be done.
There
so
is
much, and me included, being more open and trying to bring that in. There's tons to do. I have not heard of
practitioner, right?
This in the field. Yeah.
You got to be a practitioner.
I have to head in here, but
yeah, great
this
seeing
is
you.
good stuff to riff on some more.
Thank you.
For sure.
More will be revealed, my
Thank
friend.
you.
Yep. See you.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's this. How do you develop the practice? Mike and I talk about this a lot in recovery. You shared, Derek, you're in recovery too. It's like so much of the solution in the cognitive behavioral and the change of heart is available to us through AA, but it's dumb in the body. There's not a whole lot, like in Neil's world, it would be, there'd be a little required, take the 5-step protocol before you start doing your step work, because you're going to get agitated. You're going to start getting all, scared about the work you got to do. All the damage you've done starts to come out. And if there's no capacity or limited capacity to deal with it, I think that's what ends up happening, and the position gets overrun, and that's when illness becomes disease. Stress to illness, illness to disease, and it's just looking at that health span, man. With more time and more program, what my colleague and I do is kind of pre-screen, so you'd get a baseline of where you're at, and then you deploy these kind of interventions and play around with it, and then measure. It's super easy in the rehab space because I just go to HR and say, how many sick outs did you have in this time period last year? Let's do a little systematic training. And then look year over year, as long as some of the variables are the same, but there's ways to measure it. At the end of the day, is this person onboarding some disciplined, self-care practice. Everybody talks about self-care, but I don't know that how readily it's really practiced. But what I'm going to do is I have Derek, if you throw your email in the chat for me, and I'll send out an email with a couple of handouts that I've been working on. And Mike, man, and Jameson and Derek, thank you so much for coming on. Last 2 weeks ago, they had a pretty good. Were you on 2 weeks ago, Derek? Were you at the?
been on for probably a couple months, I would say.
Oh, okay,
Anyway.
okay. I was the
Derek-
kicker. See, it was
Derek, where in
meant to be.
Massachusetts are you from, Derek? I'm from Medford, Mass.
It's about Lynn, just about 20 minutes north of Boston.
Awesome. Yeah, good to meet you.
You too, Mike.
Appreciate
Yes.
your time.
Yes.
Neil, great.
All right, yeah, man, I'm gonna get this, let me get that. And Mike, man, I'll talk to you soon. Great to
Yes.
see you, Salvation.
Love you, man. All right, have a great night, guys.
Yeah, man, peace.
Peace.
And I'm gonna stop video. Stop recording. Are you sure?